I'm just a little cog in this big machine, and maybe I can be the hand of AA for one other person to come and get sober. That's what it's about, man. That's what we're here for.
Well, hello, friends of Bill W. and other friends. You have landed on Sober Speak. My name is John M. I am an alcoholic, and we are glad you are all here, especially newcomers. Newcomers, that is, both to recovery as a whole and newcomers to this podcast. Sober Speak is a podcast about recovery centered around the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. My job here on Sober Speak is simple. My job is to provide a platform to the amazing stories of recovery all around us. Consider Sober Speak, if you will, your meeting between meetings. Please remember, we do not speak for AA or any 12-step community. We represent only ourselves. We are here to share our experience, strength, and hope with those who wish to come along for the ride. Take what you want and leave the rest at the curb for the trash man to pick up. Greetings from Studio AA, deep in the heart of Texas. Lil Ginge here on episode number 375 of Sober Speak. That was the voice of Mackenzie P that you heard at the beginning of this here episode, and you're going to hear so much more from her in just a moment. But first things first, this here episode is brought to you by, it's made possible by, if you will, Todd, Anonymous, Audrey, and Mary Lynn. And so you ask yourself, what exactly did Todd, Anonymous, Audrey, and Mary Lynn do? Well, they visited our humble little website, www.soberspeak.com. They clicked on the little yellow donate tab, donation, I think is what it says actually, and made a contribution. So thank you so much, Todd, Anonymous, Audrey, and Mary Lynn. This here episode is coming right out to you. And I'm going to tell you, so you heard that right there. This is actually the third time I started to re-record this introduction because my voice is struggling a little bit, but the show must go on. And this time, I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to, I don't know, I'll either go back and edit out the coughs or I'll just leave them in. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But anyway, like I said, that was Mackenzie that you heard at the beginning of this episode. And this particular episode is called All Things ICYPAA. Mackenzie lives in Austin, Texas, and she has been sober since September of 2020. In this interview, we did this while we were actually at the ICYPAA conference in Austin this year. Mackenzie was part of the host committee putting on ICYPAA. And if you're asking yourself, what in the heck is ICYPAA? Well, listen in. This episode is for you. Once again, excuse me, Mackenzie got sober during COVID. So finding a community, so to speak, was challenging for her, but she definitely found her stride and she's made some connections in the fellowship since then. I've done some interviews like this in the past, like when we went up to Crested Butte, Colorado for that particular conference. And this conference, ICYPAA, the international version of ICYPAA, happens every July. And I wanted to do the same thing with this conference. I want to thank Matt, Kara, Casey, and there were probably others involved that I don't know of, but for allowing me to be allowing me to be part of this conference. It was an absolute blast. As I mentioned, Mackenzie was part of the host committee, and I wanted to bring her in, address not only her experience with the conference, but her experience with helping to prepare for it, what it looked like from the inside looking out. So we discussed many topics, including the outreach table that are at the conference, what it's like to host a conference such as ICYPAA, what it means to be what she said, a little cog in a big machine. I absolutely love that phrase. We talk about workshops, panels, committees, entertainment made available to anyone who attends an ICYPAA conference. And let me put it this way. This is not your standard ho-hum conference, I promise you. And we talk about much more. So, and enjoy this interview with Miss Mackenzie P. And we will have plenty listener feedback at the end of this episode. Enjoy. Okay, everybody. So today we are sitting here with a guest that just got the word she was going to be a guest on the podcast. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and have you introduce yourself, Mackenzie, and give people your sobriety date if you wish, and tell people where you actually live in this great land of ours, please.
All right. Well, hi, I'm Mackenzie and I'm an alcoholic. And I got sober on September 28th, 2020. And I live in Austin, Texas.
Okay, so I was asking you about this a little before, and I said, "Hey, we'll take care of this whenever we start recording." So you live in Austin, Texas, right now. How long have you lived here?
I sure do live in Austin, Texas. I've moved here about 5 years ago.
Okay. So you grew up where?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah. So I just moved from one place in Texas to another place in Texas.
Yeah. Well, but there is a difference between Houston and Austin, as you know. I mean, quite a significant difference. And did you come here what brought you to Austin? Did you go to school or what?
I sure did. Yeah. I went to the University of Texas, and I actually started in the fall of 2019. And then, of course, COVID. 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And then I, had to stop because of COVID. And then I took another year off to get sober. And then I came back and it was like a whole thing.
Wow. So when you said you stopped, so were they doing online classes or anything at that time? Or how was that going?
Yeah, they tried. Well, okay. So spring break, it's supposed to be 1 week, turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into a month, right? So they were like, okay, we're going to do online classes. And I was drinking a lot. I was, in the midst of my alcoholism, and I was doing, outside substances and all that kind of stuff. And then I, couldn't finish. I was like, oops, I tried to go back for that semester after we went online. And then about 3 weeks into it, had 0% averages in a few of my classes. And my family was like, you're going to rehab.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. So, okay. So I want to tell people where we are recording this. We are at the JW Marriott in downtown Austin because ICYPAA is going on as we speak. And 6th Street is right down the road. Did you get to spend some time on 6th Street?
Ooh,
well, you were too young though, right?
I got sober at 21. So I had about 9 months, I think, of legal drinking in 6th Street. So I did experience a little bit of it. Yeah. A little bit of 26.
So when I first started drinking, by the way, you could have an ID. You didn't even have to be the same race. And they would let you, they would just let you in and say, hey, go for it. Basically, it was just checking a box, right? Yeah. But with you, the world has changed and they're a lot more strict.
Sure has, yeah. Yeah, they checked you at the door and everything. I didn't have a fake ID. Right? Like I didn't go to 6th Street until I was 21,
Gotcha.
And I was drinking a lot before that, but, not publicly.
In fact, what I was going to talk to you about, so we're here. Number one, I want everybody to know Mackenzie a little bit. And then 2, we're going to talk about this conference, not only this conference, but ICYPAA as a whole and your experience with it. And so you're wearing a green shirt today and it says Austin on it, Austin host. So that is symbolic of you are what?
I am a host member of ICYPAA. That means that I have the beautiful opportunity to go around and make sure that every attendee has a great experience and gets what they need and sees all the, we take care of everything behind the scenes that makes ICYPAA what it is, which is a beautiful conference.
How many people are on the host committee?
Ooh, we have about 100 members on the host committee.
Okay. So there's about 100 people who are working to put this thing on and to make sure that there is a place for all of us to come and enjoy this. By the way, okay, so I have never been to an ICYPAA conference before.
Oh, wow. Me neither.
Was this your first one as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but at least you know about it.
That's true.
And you know a lot of people in it. So I went to the state roll call last night and the speaker last night, who was very good as well.
Yeah.
I had never seen any. This conference has a completely different vibe than I'm used to. And I mean that in a very positive way. And I am very excited. I've been sober for quite a while. Okay. and the only reason I say that is because, you always think about, okay, who's taking over AA, right?
Yeah.
Guys like me are going to die off pretty soon.
Oh, I
Hopefully
hope
not real
not.
soon.
Yeah, not too soon, please.
Hopefully Casey will die off much sooner than I do today, but nonetheless. You're always worried about, or not always worried about, I shouldn't say it that way, but, you get concerns about what's going to happen with the next generation. How is this message going to be passed on? Because it saved our lives. It saved so many lives. And we just want it to stay intact. Well, I can tell you by being here this weekend, that I am very, very excited about what's happening, about the people taking over alcohol. I don't know about taking over. You know what I mean? That are going to be leading the charge.
Yeah.
And it's just been so comforting for me. So I went in there, explain to people what happened. So this roll call.
Yeah.
First of all, do you know how many countries there are that are there? Okay, so explain what a roll call is first.
So the roll call is something that goes on before the main meeting. Like the main speaker comes out to tell their experience, strength, and hope, right? And so what we have is a host member. Last night we had 2 host members calling out different countries, and it's an opportunity for us to say, like, hey, for example, France, we see you, right? And then whoever is from France will stand up and we cheer. And
And what is that cheer thing? Well, explain to me. Okay, so okay, first of all, so, as you know, traditional Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, you go in there, say, hey, my name's John M. I'm an alcoholic. And then you say back to me, you just say, hey, John,
Yeah,
just traditional.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not what's happening here.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So what do you have any idea where that comes from and what that's all about?
So I really don't. I just, participate. So essentially, say, hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm an alcoholic, right? And the audience would say, hi, Mackenzie. We love you, Mackenzie. Lots and lots and lots. And whole.
And then it goes, whoa, that big thing, right?
Bunches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying? Whole bunches?
Sometimes it's hard to catch, but yeah, that's what they say, right? And so, I have no idea where it came from. Like I said, this is my first ICYPAA, so I don't really have, the whole history of ICYPAA.
We just want your experience. You're good.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of that, so that's good. But what I find and what I feel is, during that whole, like, we love you lots and lots and whole bunches and all of that is that, the YPAA community, we're all, either young people, we're supporting young people, or we're oldie paws who got sober young, right? So we're all just a part of this beautiful community of just like that young vibe. I'm air quoting right now because we just want to have fun, right? Like sobriety is fun.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily traditional of being like, oh, hi, just kind of, hi, I'm Mackenzie, and I'm alcoholic. Oh, hi, Mackenzie, right? We're adding on to it. We're making it fun. We're making it exciting. And we're doing all our like jazz fingers while we're saying, bunches, right?
I was going, what are they saying? But I finally figured out it's the same thing over and over. I just got to listen in a little close to figure out what they're saying. So anyway, that's what. So this is an international convention, right? ICYPAA, and that's the I on the front of it. And once again, the ICY. So what are the initials again? I know we've done a whole episode on this, and I should know this, but I know the PA. I know the AA at the end is Alcoholics Anonymous, right?
Yeah.
And the Y is a young. But what is ICYPAA? Is that International Conference?
International Conference of Young People in AA.
All right. And if somebody wants to find information about that, and they're a young person, actually, you don't have to. I've seen a lot of people that are not young around here, including myself.
True. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who just want to come here to experience this. And I've been going, hey, I've really enjoyed this experience, Yeah. So this happens, once a year?
Once a year. And it travels all around the U.S. and Canada. So, this year it was in Austin, and last year it was in San Francisco, and it's been in Boston, all over.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where's it going next year? Do you know?
I do. Am I allowed to say?
Fine with me. By the time this comes out, I'm sure they're going to announce it.
You're right. It's actually going to Twin Cities.
Okay, so it's going to be in the Twin Cities next year. All right.
It'll be in Minnesota.
And if somebody wants to find out more about that, they just go to ICYPAA.org, right?
ICYPAA.org.
Do the initials again, just so I don't want to get it wrong.
ICYPAA.
.org. And if you're in the Twin Cities, especially, if you're in anywhere, you'll want to make plans to... you'll want to make plans to be there. All right.
Absolutely.
So, and going back to this roll call real quick.
Yeah.
So this thing was, I don't even know how to explain it. So there was at least 10, 15 countries besides the U.S., right? It started out with Belize. I think it went in alphabetical order, and then it ended up, I don't even know where it ended, but it was, and then after, and so what people will do is they stand up. I remember the one guy next to me, when they got to Japan, they stood up and they waved their flags. They have there are so many flags here. So they went, and then they go from the countries to the United States. Yeah. Do you have any? It looked like every single state was represented in the United States. Do you know if they are?
I think so.
So my son came down with me.
Oh yeah.
He's not one of us, but I was telling him about this, and he goes, I said, I think somebody was there from every state. He goes, well, not like Hawaii and Alaska. And I was like, yeah. Hawaii and Alaska. I saw a ton of people from Hawaii and Alaska.
I know, and it's wild. We're like, oh my goodness, right? Like we would get the registrations and we'd be like, we got another one. We got someone from Scotland. We got someone from Japan, right? And it was it's just beautiful to see how far this goes. Yeah. Because we are outreaching all over the place.
Yeah. So speaking of outreach, how do people in Scotland and Hawaii and Alaska and all that sort of stuff know where it's going to be happening? Is it all word of mouth? Is it just, social media? How do you do it?
A lot of social media. I'm going to be honest, a lot of Facebook. As I guess I'm in Gen Z. I don't usually use Facebook. So for me, it was a whole experience of like getting involved in all of the Facebook groups. So you have a friend on Facebook who is one of us, right? And then they invite you into the groups, and then you invite others, and then it expands, right? And so, I actually, before the conference, I guess the weekend before, I had lunch at barbecue with a friend of ours from Scotland who flew in a few days early, and he went and got barbecue with me and then a few other host committee members, right? Because he's a Facebook friend of someone on the host committee, and he knows about YPAA. He's involved, right? And we were like, hey man, we're going to get barbecue. Let's go get some barbecue. And so we came, to Terry Black's with us, and it was
Terry
a great
Black's.
experience.
I drove by that today.
Yeah.
Because Casey sent me out somewhere last night. It started with an S, and I can't even remember that. I think it started with an S. Well, here's what I do know.
Yeah.
It was right across the street. Because I went out with my son, right? He's 18, and Casey said, "Hey, man, it's right across from the Yellow Rose. If you want to go."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, we're not going." The Yellow Rose is a house of ill repute. I don't even know. I don't know. How do you describe that? But anyway, whatever it is, it starts with the S and is right across from the Yellow Rose. I saw it, and my son was like, "Is that a strip club over there, Dad?" I was like, "Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is." So anyway,
look away.
by the way, and this is just kind of I go off on tangents every once in a while. I want to say, with you are a typical, like, nobody would ever in a million years guess you walking down the street have a drug and alcohol problem. I mean, do you get told that sometimes?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, what?
What?
What? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But that just goes to show you, right? And I got that a lot too, especially when I was first getting sober. It was like, in fact, my sponsor used to make a joke about it. He would say, when I first came into the rooms, he'd look at me and goes, "Whose little boy is this?" Right? How did they get into the room?
How'd you get here? Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So what I also want to talk to you about is this, and they can't see it. You can hear. This is the agenda.
Yep. That's the program.
The program, thank you. At ICYPAA, Texas, the 64th annual in Austin. And so I've been communicating with my daughter, who's a little younger than you. She's 21, and I've been telling her that I've come down here and I have found her people. And I mean that in a positive way. I sent her this agenda, and the reason I sent her this agenda is because on this agenda is a lot of topics that I normally would. I've been to tons of Alcoholics Anonymous conferences, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
I've been around for a little while. But you see topics on here that you would not see at normal, at traditional AA meetings.
Yeah.
And I just want to see if you've experienced any of these, or you know anything about them. For example, I went to the sound bath yesterday. Have you been to a sound bath?
Boy, I did not get the pleasure of experiencing the sound bath because I was guarding the door, making sure that we didn't reach capacity because it was so popular.
Yeah, it was like it was very popular when I was in there. I mean, it was like, you were really crowded, but it was you want to explain to people what a sound bath is?
Well, a sound bath, we have someone who comes in, right? They're a sound bath
trained
expert. Yeah. It's not just, one of our host members doing it for you. It's, a professional. So they have, from what I've heard, bowls all over the room.
Yeah, and they're singing bowls, right?
And they're singing
For
bowls.
those of you who know what a singing bowl is,
yeah.
Get that mic a little closer to your. There you go. Just don't get too far away. Okay. All right. So you have singing bowls.
We have singing bowls, and she goes around the room and rings them, right? And rings them, and then it fills the entire room with sound, right? And it just envelops you. And from what I've heard, it's a very spiritual experience, very meditative. Someone on our conference or on the host committee told me, it was awesome. I felt like I was transported out of the hotel, out of the JW. It was like, this beautiful experience, and he really loved it. And I think that's why it was so popular. Yeah,
it was. And I can tell you it was really nice. And for anybody who, why I'm bringing this up is because I've been to a ton of AA conferences, and I've never seen a sound bath.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of an unusual thing, and you actually have what they call Zen rooms and
Yeah.
meditation rooms. Now, I've seen some meditation rooms, but explain what a Zen room is.
The Zen room. So we have a meditation room and we have a Zen room. They
And what's the
both,
difference, by the way? I went to one, but not the other.
Yeah, well, they both serve different purposes. So the meditation room is like no talking. It has beanbags, it has blankets, it has pillows. It is strictly for like meditative silence. It's kind of far off, like room wise, from where the conference is actually happening. So you can actually get some separation. The Zen room, on the other hand, is where all of these events like the sound bath, the yoga, the other events like that can kind of help you calm, go. Right. So they're not in the meditation room. They're in the Zen room because you get Zen by doing yoga and with the sound bath, but you can meditate in silence in the meditation room.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's also an accessibility thing, right? Because the thing about the ICYPAA experience is that it can be overstimulating. It can be loud. It can be busy. It can be a little stressful. Emotions get riled up. And for someone who, is not neurotypical or just doesn't like crowds, meditation room is where to go.
Okay, you just used a word there, neurotypical. So
Yeah.
I saw. All right, so there was a. It's already passed. It was earlier today, but there was a panel. No, is this a panel? No, this is just a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And the subject of the meeting is navigating neurodivergence in AA. So what is neurodivergence?
Neurodivergence or neurodiversity is like really anything that is not neurotypical. So with
give me some examples. So I'm an old guy, and you got to slow down here. Make it simple for me. Though I think of things that are not typical. Well, I don't know. Talk me through that. Like, I mean, be real. What are people going to be talking about in a meeting like that?
In a meeting like that, we talk about things like for people who are autistic, right? We're on the autism spectrum and maybe they have different needs than someone who is what we would consider neurotypical, right? For me, I'm not on the spectrum.
Not on the spectrum.
And I I can deal with all the craziness. I don't have sensory issues going on where, lights can be too bright, sounds can be too loud, right? All that kind of stuff. So neurodivergence, it's a spectrum, and it can range anywhere from, I'm sure you've seen individuals who have headphones on.
Yes.
So because it can be loud and overstimulating, right? It can range all the way from that level of neurodivergence all the way to, just being having a little bit of trouble reading other people, or
and maybe like really introverted or something like that.
Could be really, yeah. I mean, everyone has their own experience with it, right? And the thing about this program is that it's really set up in order to allow people to find their community, right? We have a panel on neurodivergence. We have an all Spanish speaking panel, right? We have a panel about coming out as non-binary or transitioning.
Okay,
right?
so I saw that as well. So when you're so, and I also want to talk about that. So, and the reason I want to do that is because this is cool, right? I mean, and like in other words, you have topics that, I mean, if I go to South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, and I'm looking for these kind of meeting topics, I'm not going to find it, right?
Yeah.
And so that you're trying to be receptive to, basically all communities, like
Absolutely.
you said. And one of those is it says, this was a subject, it says the need to identify transitioning or coming out as non-binary in sobriety. Now, Keep in mind, I'm an old guy.
Okay.
My daughter has tried her best to kind of get me up to speed. Right. Yet I just sometimes it's hard for me to understand, you know? So like when you have a meeting like that and you're talking about coming out as non-binary, I mean, what's the, you know, I mean, what's the discussion like? I don't know if you know or not, but just kind of give me a general idea.
Well, I would only be speculating what the conversation is like because I don't identify as non-binary. And I am not transgender, so I'm not quite sure. What I do know is that the difference in experience between an individual who is, I guess, you know, cisgender as I am, right? I identify as my natural, how I was born, right? The same gender as I was born with, then that experience is very different from another individual who is coming out as non-binary or transitioning, because the truth is those communities are often stigmatized, right? There's often a separation. It is us and it is them, when the reality is we are all a part of the same community and we all deserve to feel a part of that community. And that's the whole idea. That's why accessibilities and ASL interpretation and Spanish inclusion was so important to this committee. And that's why I just love being a part of it, because I'm like, oh my God, y'all means all, right? And we have a panel called that. But
yeah, I saw that. I had that one checked off too. Y'all means all.
Y'all means all. And you know, and this is something that, you know, I think growing up in Texas, you hear from other people from around other states that like Texas is conservative. It's a red state. Austin is not, right, as a city. And what we wanted to present to everybody is that, hey, look, like, we are in Texas, right? This is, you know, I'm air quoting, conservative country, conservative country, conservative state. But here with this committee and at this ICYPAA, you are welcome, regardless of what you identify as, regardless of the language you speak, regardless of your accessibility needs, we'll take care of you, and you're welcome here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. And I know I'm hitting you. You know, I know you're not I know you just have your experience. You're not an expert on all these various, you know, culture issues, social issues, etc. But I wanted people to give a kind of a flavor of what's going on, right? And you don't have to be non-binary either in order to enjoy this conference. There's a lot of traditional, you know, just.
Got a lot of panels and workshops on like the concepts, the traditions, the steps. Yeah, because we as a committee really feel strongly about having all 36 principles introduced to the ICYPAA, like, you know, everybody, right? Like, we want to know about the concepts, we want to know about the traditions, and we want to know how to apply those into our relationships, into our everyday lives, right? How do we become more effective in living in God's will and being there for God's kids, right? Yeah.
You also talked on the beginning about, and I've seen the booth, if you will. It says ICYPAA. What is ICYPAA?
ICYPAA. That is it's a community, I guess, of people who got sober young. And now they are, I'm quoting, old, because old is relative.
I understand. But chronologically, they are older,
in
right?
age.
Yes.
Yes, you could say. But
they're probably what, 40s, 50s, 60s, something like that. Maybe even 70s.
Maybe even.
But they're like me. They come here to, you know, hey, enjoy the energy and
enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said earlier, right? Like, ICYPAA is not just for young people. It is for people who support young people. It is for like, you know, people who got sober young and are older now. Also, young can just mean room to grow. If you have room to grow, you are young and you belong here. And we are so happy that you're here.
Very cool. All right. So here, what else did I want to ask you about? Oh, this is a workshop I actually went to.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Breathwork for Anxiety. Did you go there?
I did not, but I helped set it up.
Okay. So it was very interesting. I guess I'll explain it then. So there was a guy there. He's a trained breathwork guy. And the whole idea is that people who struggle with anxiety, much like I do,
much like myself as well,
you can go in there, and if you learn this breath work and you practice it on a consistent basis, you can reduce your anxiety. And so, I mean, it was really interesting. And I took some notes, and he gave out a card and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to look up more of what he talked about. In fact, I already ordered, he recommended these things that you put, like tape mouth. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. What?
All right. So it's tape that you sleep with on your mouth when you are sleeping.
So you don't become a mouth breather.
Correct. So you want to breathe through your nose. Has something to do with carbon dioxide and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm going to try it out at home when I get back home and see it, because I know that I breathe through my mouth when I get, stuffy and all that kind of stuff
Me too.
when I'm sleeping. And so he says if you do that, you'll be much better off because of it. Did you by any chance you've been working a lot, so you don't get to go to a lot of this stuff. Did you go to the magic show that they had on Friday night?
I watched from afar, but I did see the comedy show.
You did? Okay. So, that's on there too. So who did the comedy?
It was actually members of the program, just like us. They're paid comedians. They, are actually,
like real comedians,
like professional comedians. Yeah. It was really amazing. And, it was a late night comedy show, and they were talking about all kinds of stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
I may have to get one of them on the podcast. By the way, have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, no, I haven't.
Have you ever listened to a podcast?
Oh, I love podcasts.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm setting myself up here, but I'm assuming you have not listened to Sober Speak. Am I right?
I haven't. No.
Well, that's fine. Well, now you'll have to start listening to Sober Speak. And I know that Casey just kind of came and dragged you in here and said, go meet this strange guy.
Yeah.
I know him. He's from the Dallas area, and he's going to interview you. So I appreciate you coming here to do this.
No, I feel really honored to be here, honestly.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was games and mafia. So what does that mean? Like, why is mafia on there, and what are the games all about?
So the games in mafia take place in the Fungin. It's called a fun.
What?
It's the Fungin. It's the fun dungeon.
Oh, like GEON, Fungin.
Yeah, Fungin. Bungeon.
Okay, so there's a Fungin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually a dungeon, though, is it?
No, it's not. It's not a dungeon. It's just a very large room.
Okay.
Where you get to basically just do whatever in there. You get to play games. We have cards. We have spike ball. We have, oh my gosh, I can't even number the. Ping pong, maybe? I don't know.
Okay. Oh, I saw somebody playing the ping pong. Ping pong, not ping pong.
Ping pong.
I've got bong on the mind, but anyway. So I saw somebody playing that, and so that must have been in the Fungin.
It was.
Right. And that's what I want people to know about. He's like if you come here like next year or whatever, there's all this stuff going on.
All kinds of stuff. I mean, that's the thing is, we're at the JW Marriott, and there are 3 floors for this conference. So you got the Fungin on the bottom. You got the Lone Star, which is right there in the middle, and it has all the panels. And then up on the top floor, you have registration, merch, volunteer stuff, which is where I come in. I'm the volunteer chair. And then you have the main ballroom with all the big meetings and all that kind of stuff. So there's maybe 10 things happening at any given time.
Okay, so speaking of the volunteer stuff, or I saw like this floor that we're on. I think
Yes.
we're on the 4th floor, right? Yeah. I think
Yep,
that's where we are,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah. You're just going back and forth.
I'm a little tired. It's
So by the registration, there's
Mhm.
all, maybe actually, no, this was on the 2nd floor. There's all these people lined up on tables,
Yes.
and they're all paws, right?
Yes, all pause.
Okay, so what are they doing?
That is the outreach tables.
Okay.
The outreach floor with a whole bunch of outreach tables. So we were talking earlier about how do we outreach, and coming to ICYPAA is one of those ways. Is how we outreach our conferences and stuff like that. So personally, I have not been a part of any other bids or any other, host committees aside from this one. It's been a beautiful experience, and I'm going to get more experience, hopefully. God willing, I'll have that chance. But the outreach tables are specifically for the people who are putting on those conferences in all over the country. We have people from California. We have people from Minnesota, Arizona, right? Like all over the place. They're doing outreach for their conferences and saying, hey, my conference or our conference is happening at this time on this, in this state, at this city, right? Come out, experience the ICYPAA
Right.
experience at this conference. And it's a really cool thing because you get to meet a whole lot of people and learn about more conferences and just get connected with the community.
Yeah, so there's at least, 12, 15 of them or something out there, right?
It's all down the hallway.
Right, and I think I saw the Grapevine out there with something on their deal is too. So, all righty. So, let me make sure there was nothing else that I really needed to. Oh, you could have gone to one of these meetings. Well, not quite. Never had a legal drink, which I think is you don't see that at a lot of conferences.
Yeah, no.
But you had 9 months of
legal drinking. Yeah. So never had a legal drink. Like we have individuals here who get sober around like as young as 15, 14, 13, right? Like this is a community of people ranging from like all across the spectrum, right? Of like age. And so, it never had a legal drink. There are a lot of people who get sober at that age, 15, 16, right? And they don't have legal drinks. And, that would be the meeting for them.
How do you like living in Austin?
I love it. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. What do you love about it so much?
I think it's the community that I built, and I think you can find that community anywhere. And that's the beautiful thing about AA and being a part of the community is that, the hand of AA stretches all over, right? And so anywhere you go, you can find a friend, or at least a meeting to go to, right? But Austin, I feel like, it's just one of those places that I'd always wanted to live. And I started living here and it was like a dream. And then, got sober and started meeting all of these people. And it's just beautiful. And there's always things to do out here, which is always fun. As a young person, I'm like, I'm 25, I'm going to go out and do things, and sometimes I'll stay home, but this committee has really gotten me up and out of my house. So
you're 25, but you look 21 for sure. I mean, if that, I thought when Casey walked you in there, I thought this little girl's going to do a whole podcast. I mean,
yeah.
So that's great though. Yeah. You just definitely have a young look. And, all right. So here's what I've been thinking, like, even with my daughter and stuff, I'm always thinking, gosh, she would be a great catch. Yeah. So I have to ask you more personal, right?
Yeah.
Are you dating someone?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then whoever that is, whether I was going to say, hey, if you want to meet, I would put a shout out on the air, but Alicia, it looks like you're taking. Mackenzie is taking.
Take it.
All right. So for the boyfriend, whoever's listening right now, sorry I went there, but this girl needs to be spoken for.
Good thing. I am. Yep.
Is he in the program?
He is, yeah.
Is he here this weekend?
I put him to work. So like I said, I'm the volunteer chair. I was like, hey honey, I need you to I need you to go downstairs for the ICYPAA rodeo and help people ride the bull. And and he went down there and he was there for 2 hours. God bless him. I love that guy.
Okay. So as we wrap it up here, why don't you just kind of talk about, kind of off the cuff, your experience, strength, and hope with ICYPAA, what it's meant to you, what you want people to know about it. If there are people that are thinking about going to this, especially in Minnesota next year, or getting involved in their local chapter, just kind of talk about your experience with that.
My experience. Oh, wow. So like I said, I got sober at 21. I was it was in the middle of COVID, by the way. And so this kind of stuff wasn't really happening, right? There wasn't a whole lot of sobriety in the park and, we're having all these events and doing all this stuff. And so finding a community was a bit of a challenge for me, at least for the first couple years. And so I kind of wandered into this meeting that I had never been to. It was a speaker meeting, and found a new sponsor and started, going back through the steps. And one day, I went to fellowship at this meeting, and it was like a few months or maybe even a year down the line. I have no idea, honestly, a time warp sometimes. But I went to this fellowship, and one of the people on this host committee was like, hey. and I was kind of sitting by myself because I still didn't know how to really be a part of and how to really get involved. And I was still kind of getting my bearings. And, he was like, have you been to this, meeting, this ICYPAA thing? It's starting, when it went like next Sunday or something, whatever day it was. And I was like, no, what's that? And so I just asked the question, what's that? And he was like, here, I'll get your number. I'll send you the information. And he did. And I went, and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting, right? I didn't have any idea what I was getting into. But then I just kept coming back, right? That's what they tell you to do. Keep coming back. And so I just kept coming back for 9 months. And now we're here, right? Which is kind of the long and short of it. But really what it has done, I can't even express how grateful I am to have been a part of this, because it's been one of those experiences that, they say is like the once in a lifetime kind of thing, like the odds of you hosting 2 ICYPAAs are very small, considering how many places it goes around the country and Canada and all that kind of stuff. And so, or America and Canada, or US and Canada. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, the once in a lifetime thing was something that people had told me, and I said, like, well, okay, it's always, that thing with me where, and I think it's my alcoholism, where someone tells me something and I just question it immediately. I'm like, that can't be right. I'm like, no, I can't, no. And it's something my mom always tells me, which is I have to learn by fire, to how to do something, or just, someone can tell me something a million times, and until I've experienced it myself, I have no idea what they're talking about, and I just don't believe them. Right. And so, I just kept coming back, and I kept asking questions, and I remained curious about it, because the thing about a conference this size is that there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of things going on at one time. We had so many subcommittee meetings, and there was we would have them 4 or 5 times a week. And then you'd have the business meeting where you go over all the stuff, and then you get your position, and then you got to do that too, and it's all this stuff, right? It gets so big, and you have events that you go to as well. And so you got to be a part of those, because if you're not, then you're like, yo, I'm missing things. For me, it was a lot of FOMO. Yeah. I was like, I can't miss it. I have to be there. And even if that fear was, unreasonable to some extent, it got me there, right? It got me in the door. And then once I was there, I was there and I was fully bought in. And I didn't stop, right? Now I'm here and I'm bouncing all around this conference and it's beautiful. And really what it's done for me is just show me what I'm capable of, what God is capable of. And hosting a conference is not for the faint of heart, I guess.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Emotions get really high and you're like, ooh, how do I deal with that? But the thing is God is big enough to deal with it for you. You know what I mean? And that's been my motto for this weekend is God is big enough. And that is kind of like, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but I'm just really grateful. Shout out to Connor who brought me into this. You know, he's our secretary. He's also the guy who did the breathwork. Workshop.
Yeah.
Because he was the hand of AA that brought me here. He was like, hey, you heard about this? And then my sponsor is Alt Chair, right? She's in the middle of it with me. She gets it, right? I meet all these people from all over Texas, and then I'm meeting people from all over the country.
Kara's your sponsor, right?
Kara.
Yeah, we actually had her. She was on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. She's a gem.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for her. And I'm so grateful for everybody on this committee because it takes everybody. It's not just one of us. And then that's how I've learned to be a part of, I'm just a little cog in this big machine. And maybe I can be the hand of AA for one other person to come and get sober. That's what it's about, man. That's what we're here for, you know? So
this has been really fun. Now you're going to be on a podcast.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's actually crazy.
And you're almost done with the weekend. I mean, not almost. I mean, it's winding down here, right?
Well, we still got.
Is there? Oh, and there's the other thing I meant to ask you about. There's a dance at night too, right?
We got
what was that called? It was like a weird thing for a dance.
It's the phenomenon of raving.
Oh, so no, is that what the dance is called?
It's the phenomenon of raving. You get that play on words? I hope we do.
I get it. That's funny. Mm-hmm. That's funny. Yeah, like a AA rave.
It is an AA rave.
The phenomenon of raving. That's cool. All right. Well, thank you. By the way, I meant to, Casey.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you know this. Speaking of being worn out, poor guy, he had his appendix taken out. Did you know that? Oh
my God. I didn't know that it was his appendix. All I knew is that he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Dad isn't going to be here.
Yeah.
But he's here and he is absolutely killing it. He is my moral support.
Yeah, well, I know he's dragging. I've talked to him about it because he just recently had his appendix taken out and I don't know if he must have lost at least 20 pounds here just recently over the last 10 days or so. Mm-hmm. And, God bless him. I kid with him a lot, but he's really done, he's really stepped up to the plate here.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
All right. So we always, I always wrap it up here with page 164 from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It says, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Once again, Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
As always, we do not want you sharing your toothbrush, but we would love for you to pause your device and share that episode with a friend or family member. It may be just what they need today. Once again, thanks to Mackenzie and all the ICYPAA crew there. It was great spending time with all of you that weekend. Now, on to a little bit of listener feedback. Mike writes in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share this first before I get into, well, actually, I'm going to share as a shout out first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what he does afterwards. Mike writes in, and it's called Shout Out Request is the subject line. He says, "Hey, John, it's been a while since the snail mail department has checked in. So I thought it would be a good time giving one of our correspondents has requested a shout out. So here it is to Anthony A. and Ozark Correctional Center and all the guys in the Bay with him. So Anthony A. and all the guys in the Bay, here's your official shout out from Mike and myself. As for me," says Mike, "I am feeling really grateful these days. I have a birthday coming up on 12/14. This is actually coming out. This episode is going to be coming out right after his birthday, I believe. And oddly enough, it is also my belly button birthday." That's great, Mike. Mike says, "So I will have 58 years of life and 5 years of sobriety." Fantastic, Mike. Growing up, I never thought I would make it to 50, and apparently my higher power had a plan. I am also grateful that the snail mail is coming up on its 2-year anniversary. I just had my 1 year of work and 6-month-old granddaughter. So many blessings I have received since joining the program of recovery. Looking forward to seeing what God has planned for the future, because I am going to continue to do the next right thing and follow his lead. Until next time, peace and blessings, Mike. Well, Mike, congratulations on 58 years of life and 5 years of sobriety. That is absolutely fantastic. And for those of you who maybe have not heard of me talk about Mike before, Mike monitors our snail mail department is what he calls it, which is a P.O. box that we have in Arizona. And for those of you who can't or would just rather write a letter, Mike is available. He monitors that P.O. box. Is, just so you know, it's Sober Speak, 1962 East Apache Boulevard. That's P.O. Box 7925, Tempe, Arizona, 85281. Mike, we're so appreciative of everything you do monitoring that box, and I really appreciate that. And once again, congratulations. Now, speaking of Mike and some of the letters he receives, he actually sent me over a actual, hear that? That's a real letter that I'm about to read, not an email. And I read through this once, and I realized that there's a couple of the words, because it's in cursive, she has great handwriting. It's not her. It's just that a couple of the letters I can't make out. You know how it is in email. You just read the letters, right? But this one is great. I love that she wrote in. This is from Tammy. Tammy writes in and she says, "Dear SoberSpeak, I first want to thank you for your podcast. I am 44 years old and currently incarcerated in the Arkansas Department of Corrections for DWI number 6. I am an alcoholic, and I came across Rachel W's episode on your podcast, and she says, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. There is relief, and relief is available. Release available, I think is, I'm sorry, that's probably one of the words I'm messing up. She says, the message was to the incarcerated alcoholic. I need the magic of the steps that she spoke of. My last drink was on September 23rd, 2021, and I went to jail for DWI number 6, and that revocated my parole, and I was already on DWI number 5. I was going back to prison and have been there over I've been there over 3 years now. I have been independently reading the big book and trying to work the steps the best I can alone. I did attend AA meetings in the free world prior to incarceration, but I was going back to check a box and not to get and stay sober. Today, I want the AA program to stay sober. I have a good relationship with my higher power. I just felt stuck in the steps because I haven't found anyone that would be willing to sponsor me while incarcerated. I also came across Gary K on your podcast, and all the episodes spoke to me and had a great meaning, and I couldn't really I'm sorry, I don't know what that word is. Blank. I plan to be released on April 2025. So I am down to about 5 months to go. And I am really interested in working with a sponsor through the steps or getting a good start before my release. I pray this letter finds you all well and happy. I wanted to reach out to you to say thank you, and in hopes that Gary K or Rachel W would be willing to sponsor an incarcerated, quote, garden variety drunk, unquote, like me. If you have anyone else in mind whom would be up for it or led to it, I would greatly appreciate it. My address is and general information are on the back. I hope to hear from you soon. God bless you and thank you. Tammy R. Her home is Little Rock, Arkansas. Her sober date is 9/24/21, and then she gives the address. And then she says, I have also been working through the Big Book Awakening workbook by Dan Sherman. Yes, I've heard of that. And she says, thank you again, Sober Speak, for all you do. Well, Tammy, I got this via Mike. Once again, Mike, thank you for monitoring that that P.O. box. And I replied. I copied both Rachel and Gary. Rachel said she's trying to get in touch with you and to help sponsor you through this. I know Gary was willing as well, but thank you for reaching out. We really, really appreciate it. God bless you. And once again, Mike, thank you for monitoring that P.O. box. Otherwise, we would never see anything like that. So God bless you, Tammy. God bless you, Mike. Really appreciate it. And Tammy, keep me posted, okay? I think you said you have 5 months left, and write us when you get out. In fact, if anybody wants to write us via traditional email, you could do that too. I'm at John, John, at soberspeak.com. And while I'm at the promo stuff, if you want to follow us on Instagram, we've gotten so many followers on Instagram lately. We're at Sober Speak, all one word, Sober Speak. And where else are we? Oh, yeah. The Facebook thing. If you want to join the super secret Facebook group, you go to your application, sponsored by Facebook, and you look up Sober Speak secret group and ask for admission, and we'll get you all in there. Like I told you on the beginning of this episode, my voice is not doing so great today, but we've got one more piece of feedback here to complete, and then we will be on our way, and another episode will be in the can. All right. Anyway, Adrian writes in, and Adrian says, something for you, my friend, is what the subject line is. He says, hello, John. I haven't written you in a while. I haven't wrote you since a while. Hope all is fine in the AA studio from Texas. Yeah, we're doing good here, Adrian. He says, since years, I still listen to your show to help me grow in my spiritual path. Thank you for your service, my friend. I also want to wish a special thanks to Chris S., who is awesome. I just listened to episode 371 again, and again, it's deep. Thank you to the Step Master. I knew that character defects are like a stone in my recovery journey. I knew that they are coming from the drinking time, and also at the end of the day, no one will give a damn if I do not drink, but if I'm insane. I honestly didn't pay too much attention to step 6 and 7, which are linked to step 3. I don't know what kind of alcoholic you've been, but I was always going to any lengths to get drunk. Big smiley face. Yeah, Adrian, I understand. That's how I spend my time now for recovery. I'm going to any length. A design for living, John. Many, many thanks for your service, brother. Finally, just a nice video from Gaber Mate about alcoholism and addictions. The link is below on Instagram. Yeah, I watched that. Thanks for sending that in, Adrian. I appreciate it. Wishing you all the best. God bless you. Keep sober and healthy. I'm sober right now. I'm working on the healthy part. But anyway, thank you for writing in, Mr. Adrian. So good to hear from you again, as always. And you're right. It is a design for living that really works. God bless you, my friend. All right, everybody. That is another episode of Sober Speak. I think this is episode 3. What did I say? 375? Yeah, I'll just look it up. Just be close here, just to be safe. Yeah, 375 in the books with Miss Mackenzie P. All right, everybody. That is another episode in the books. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. I take this 1 week at a time. I hope to be back here next week. You never can tell. Life gets lifey sometimes. You never can tell. It's been a while since I have had since I've missed on a Friday. But anyway, I hope to be back next week. And may God bless you and keep you until then. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.